Hello there, Taran is here. Today let's talk about common misconceptions on attacking the first point on Dorado. Dorado and Gibraltar from the previous video are generally among the most challenging and least understood maps in Overwatch. So in the future I would like to discuss the second and third points on these squad maps, but that's later. First we need to go through the first point on Dorado. Today, to understand what positions we take and why, let's start with the theory from potential defensive positions. Most of the times, the defense will occupy their distant high grounds, sometimes peek from the close high ground and from the bridge, apart from that occupy the red roof as well. If the defense peeks from the close high grounds, the attack generally finds it acceptable, because they can shoot back without exposing themselves to the crossfire, push the payload and choose when they want to duel. For the defense side, this position as a starting point is not as valuable. The attack will always inflict significant amount of damage first and then move forward. Most of the times it works coming out to this position a little bit later, when the attack has already moved out from behind the corner and engaged with the defense on the distant high ground. Then their backs and sides will be open to you. They won't be able to retreat quickly, especially if the attacking heroes have come out from the corner too wide. As the result, it's good for defense to have a hero who can quickly change positions or stay a long time on more aggressive flanks and corners. The distant high ground is good for defense because it provides an excellent view on a very long area of the payload's path, and defenders can choose when and how they want to pick from this position. But what about the red roof? The defense often uses this position as a breather for their tank. For example, D.Va. D.Va will drop onto the payload, contest it a bit to give defenders time to shoot at enemy heroes, and then fly out where the attack simply cannot reach her. Plus, the defense supports can easily restore her health. So, it turns out the attack has three big problems. The defense has a good and unreachable position. There is an aggressive push through the closest high ground, and there is almost fight-ready resting point for the tank. Luckily, exists one position that solves all the problems at once. It is the closest high ground. First of all, on Dorado's first point attack, the attackers have to occupy this high ground. In particular, apply pressure, and ideally someone should hold this position. So, if you have seen pro games on this map, you'll probably notice the attacker's teleporter sits up. If you don't have a DPS who can spend about 5 seconds setting up a teleporter, I suggest simply walking this distance. Besides, if for some reason your team is facing obstacles right before the first corner, you can always provide support from a low ground position. Sometimes this position can be valuable, especially when you are playing support in the first fight. Ideally, you can keep a mobile hero, one who doesn't require many resources, on the point like Tracer, and take your tank to occupy the high ground yourselves. On the other hand, D.Va can hold the point, since she can quickly join you when you come out onto the platform near the health pack. The nearby high ground available to attackers provides three key advantages. First, you can freely shoot at the red roof without taking damage in return. Second, you can contest the close high ground equally with defenders. This way, you are freeing the payload from crossfire. Third, you create pressure on the far high ground by taking the second relatively safe LOS on the defenders, and by being able to cross the bridge and dare them to fight for that space. Take a look. Just like on Gibraltar, in this situation the attackers don't have a clear advantage in the fight. The key to this position lies on creating 2 points of interest for the defenders, the first one at the point and the second on the high ground. If you direct the attackers to this high ground, the defenders will likely just avoid the fight. It's important to apply simultaneous pressure on the payload as well. By the way, in coordinated play, the defenders will often try to deny the attackers even the chance to reach the close high ground, forcing a fight very early, but in ranked it's pretty rare to see that. Besides taking the position we just went over, the attackers have a few other plays they can make, but we won't go into those today. This strategy will work in most cases. So, thanks to our actions we won the fight, but then something unexpected happened and we all died again, like on Gibraltar. The payload made it quite far, so what do we do now? The truth is, there is no 100% correct play in this situation. I would always recommend starting from the far high ground as an attacker. Why would I do it? If you try to push through main, any sort of control over the bridge can stop you from moving forward and helping your team in the fight near the fountain. Picture this, there is a Genji right above you and you can even step out without getting punished. That's why I suggest going for this kind of rotation or using the close high ground instead. Take space, lock in strong position, and then go for your push. If you push the defenders back to the fountain, rotate towards the tents. It's actually a solid spot for your backline to set up, cause from this position you've got two options. You can hold the angle on main to help the fight on the right, or peek left for a line of sight behind the fountain and payload. The tents keep you safe from direct sight lines of enemies in standard spots. If the map situation is in your favor, you can even try a more aggressive play through the left high ground onto the defender's backline. But here's the catch, you don't really have one strong position in this fight. You will need to keep moving and adapt to the fight. Now let's take a look at a couple of examples. In the first one, we've got LH Cloudy again, but this time he's on my team. Right at the start, he's playing Ryan with Lucio and they are going to fight for the close high ground. As Ana, I can follow them because in this case my job is to support teammates on the payload. I'm still playing off main near the small arc. That way I can help in the fight for the far high ground and keep an eye out for any threats coming my way. So the fight's still going on and there wasn't really a good moment to go for the high ground. We've got the numbers and my team's pushing to make the count, but I didn't feel like going through main. Instead, I duck into the room on the right for cover, then swing around to a spot near the tents. In the second example, we have a recent screen between the finals of the upper bracket in the European Flash Ops. I'm subbing in as a tank for one of the teams. First, let's take a look at the default response to the teleport on the orange high ground. This teleport is what most teams expect. Then we see the attacking backline hang out in the main for a bit. Why? They are worried Winston might jump on them with the nade while they are heading to high ground. But once they realize the defending Winston isn't really in the spot to die, they rotate to the close high ground. That move pushes back the Widowmaker who was holding an aggressive angle and sets up the second fight on first point. Alright, let's jump into the next one. This game from a recent Flash Ops qualifiers. So here we're trying to get back control of the high ground. The enemy team's running a dive com and they still want to take a fight up here. But we're totally cool with that, because fighting from the high ground way better than being caught down in main like sitting ducks. After that, realizing Blade's a problem, I decide to flip the script or swap positions with the enemy team. The idea here is that the enemy Genji will be looking for me in the usual spots, near the 10 or somewhere around there, and wouldn't be expecting it to be chilling in their backline, and even if he does find me, I should be able to get a trade before going down. And finally, an example from our favorite diamond rank. In this case, let's take a look at the defense's play. The Zen of the blue team aggressively peeks the close high ground, basically handing Hilary a free kill before she even has to crossfire with enemy Hanzo. However, Hanzo, now left alone, ends up dying to a dive from two attacking heroes. Here I want to give a special shout out to Mercy as a hero. The attacking soldier, however, doesn't just sit AFK on the main, he calmly moves to the close high ground, forcing the remaining defenders out of their nearby positions. On the blue team's attack, their soldier rushed too quickly through the close high ground passage and paid for it with his life. Also notice how dynamic the defending soldier's positioning is, and how a similar setup with Anna on the distant high ground shuts down any attempt to push through the main. That's all for today, folks. Thank you so much for supporting me on Boosty and on the streams, for your comments and likes. Thank you Leg Voytsman for voicing this video as well. Share these strategies and ideas with your friends and stay healthy. Have a good day and goodbye.